Buy your gold and silver from SD Bullion. Right now, new customers can get gold or silver at spot by visiting sdbullion.com/new. Hey everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great Christmas holiday. Now, as we approach the end of 2023, we get ready to start a new year. I think it's important to discuss the potential for major changes to the global economy, to our society, to the world's geopolitical order as we head into 2024. And I don't know about you, but for me, I feel like those changes are in the air. I mean, we have a world at war, we have civil unrest abroad, we have major divisions here domestically, we have a border crisis, an insolvent banking system. There's a lot of things that could go wrong in 2024. And we're looking at the price of gold here on its long-term chart, and you can see that gold is getting ready to wrap up 2023 near record all-time high prices. But look, I don't think we've seen anything yet for the precious metals, because when these events play out, I believe that there is going to be a flight to safety into the metals. I know a lot of you probably can feel it in the air as well. We have all of these problems. The feeling that major changes around the corner, I think, is unavoidable. And look, we're not the only ones who are getting that feeling. In fact, just look at this recent clip from Face the Nation, in which CBS News anchor Catherine Herridge forecasts a black swan event, a national security event with high impact in 2024. Let's play the clip.
Well, mine's a little dark. I just feel a lot of concern that 2024 may be the year of a black swan event. This is a national security event with high impact that's very hard to predict. There are a number of concerns that I have that factor into that. Not only this sort of enduring heightened threat level that we're facing, the wars in Israel, also Ukraine. And we're so divided in this country in ways that we haven't seen before. And I think that just creates fertile ground for our adversaries like North Korea, China, and Iran. And that's what concerns me most.
So quite an ominous forecast there from CBS News anchor Catherine Herridge. Now, is this some of the predictive programming that we've heard about recently, or perhaps, she's just paying attention to what's going on and understands that the risks are high here? But let's delve into some of these developments and what's going on in the world, and why we need to take these risks seriously. So first of all, this is a headline from yesterday from Reuters. Israeli airstrikes kill 100 in one of the war's deadliest nights. And I'm not trying to get too doom and gloom here around the holiday season, but these global events, they don't take a break for the holidays. I think the biggest takeaway we can take from this story is that this conflict is showing no signs of abating. And if we're seeing one of the deadliest nights of this war, these strikes, I think we can understand this is going to further incense the Muslim world and incense their feelings against Israel. And so we are getting closer and closer, the more days that you have with strikes like this and with attacks, to a broader regional conflict. And in that same vein, this is from Bloomberg. U.S. strikes targets in Iraq after drone attack injures troops. So some more of these drone attacks launched by Iranian-backed militias based out of Iraq. Well, we replied this time with 3 airstrikes against their military facilities. And again, this is not the the big one, the major event that draws Iran into a broader regional conflict. However, it is one step closer to that event. And unfortunately, it appears that we are on a path towards a broader regional conflict in the Middle East involving Iran, much to, I'm sure, the pleasure of war hawks such as Lindsey Graham, who months ago was threatening to bomb Iranian oil production facilities. And, that is really the big risk here as far as black swans or major disruptions to the global economy in 2024. And that is if the U.S. and Iran get drawn into open conflict. If we begin bombing Iranian oil production facilities, that could potentially take as much as 2 million barrels of crude oil per day out of global production, not to mention the fact that we've already seen the shuttering of the Red Sea for container ships. Well, the Strait of Hormuz also should be a big concern here. That is the strait in the Persian Gulf through which approximately 20% of global oil production flows. And in a broader conflict with Iran, you can pretty much guarantee that they will do their best to shut down that traffic. And that could mean a major surge in the price of crude oil. And that is actually exactly what we saw today following the news of those US strikes against Iranian-backed militias in Iraq. And that was that the price of crude oil surged back up to around 76 bucks. Now it came down a little bit off the highs, but still crude oil is back up over $75. And should this conflict truly break out, it is very likely we will see easily triple-digit oil, but we could possibly see a doubling in the price of crude oil in very short order. And of course, that would put massive pressures on a global economy that is already suffering from high levels of inflation due to all of the currency that's been created. Well, if you disrupt the supply chains for the world's most important commodity, that being crude oil, that touches the production of just about everything else, including the cost of energy, the cost of food, everything depends on crude oil, you're going to see a big problem for the global economy should that play out. Now, I want to change gears here a little bit and take a look at the chart of silver, which you can see here. I mean, it's nowhere near like gold. I mean, gold's sitting near all-time highs. Silver is still about 50% of its 2011 highs, but to me, that just means it's cheap. However, I do think it's important to note that we have this nice cup and handle formation shaping up in the price of silver, and silver continues to hover just below this trend line. Now, when gold really gets moving, I think it's more or less a sure thing. I mean, of course, there's no such thing as a sure thing in investing or in money or any of those things, and none of this is financial advice. I'm not telling you what to do. But when gold gets moving, I think we're going to see silver blow through this resistance line, and then it's going to be possibly off to new all-time highs. That's why I'm focusing on silver as stacking. I like to watch the gold chart because I think it's an important metric for observing risk, and that's where people are going to go first for safety. But typically in a metals bull market, you see silver kind of trail gold, and I do think that both metals will be getting a safe haven bid should any of these events take place. Now, honestly, I kind of would prefer that not be the route that gold and silver take. I don't want there to be a broader regional war in the Middle East. I don't want the price of gas to go up to $5 a gallon, $10 a gallon. That doesn't sound like a very good time to me. However, should we see a major escalation in the Middle East, I do think that the price of crude oil, followed by just about all commodities, including the precious metals, are going to blow up. So, if you want to hedge against that risk, I think that silver right now especially is just a tremendous value at these very low prices. And when you look at its chart, it seems like it could be going much higher. Now, back to the gold chart here. And again, it's the similar story to the silver chart, except it's much cleaner cup and handle formation. This is a very bullish formation. I'm not going to get into this too much. We've talked about this in several previous videos. But again, I mean, the odds of gold being knocked above this trend line here at the top, which is really where we need to see it close to get headed to new all-time highs, I think it just dwarfs the potential for a pullback. I mean, anything's possible, and volatility is basically guaranteed, I think, in this situation. But there's one black swan event that we really need to watch out for here, and probably the one that will have the biggest effect on gold directly, and that is a financial crisis here in the US. And it's hard to say that this even would fall into the category of a black swan because by definition, a black swan is something that should be hard to see coming, right? Or impossible to see coming. This falls into the category more of the gray elephant, which is one of these disastrous events which you see playing out before your eyes, but nothing is done to stop it. And what we're looking at here is the chart of the Bank Term Funding Program. This is an emergency lending facility started by the Fed back in March when banks started to fail. And basically what this is, the Fed will take the low-yielding U.S. Treasuries off of these bank balance sheets, inject liquidity into the banks, prevents them from having to sell these treasuries at a major loss. The Fed is actually loaning the money at par, which is a lot more than what the bonds are actually worth in the free market. So this saves the banks from trying to take a loss, kind of what happened to Silicon Valley Bank, started the whole crisis back in March. But the thing to note from this chart is that now, over the past several weeks, we're routinely putting in new record all-time highs of the utilization of this emergency credit facility. You can see, according to the most recent data from December 20th, that we have now hit $131 billion in bank term funding program loans to these banks. So, we hear repeatedly from the president, you got Bidenomics, great economy, everything's fine. You got Powell and Janet Yellen telling us that the U.S. banking system is well-funded, it's well-capitalized. Well, if that's the case, why are we seeing every week new highs in this emergency lending facility? I mean, you tell me. But if we get another bank failure, you remember what happened in March. Banks started to fail. it was almost impossible to get your hands on physical gold and silver. I mean, the wait times went up, the premium shot up, the minimum order shot up for some dealers. SD Bullion had to implement a $500 minimum order just because they were so backlogged that they were getting a huge influx of customers. And look, when banks start to fail in 2024, which I think is entirely possible, I believe we will see a major influx into the precious metals, and that is likely when you're going to see gold breaking out of this formation. So, when you have an insolvent banking system, when you have a very fragile financial system, the traditional safe havens of cash or US treasuries, I think are going to look a lot less appealing to your average investor when there is some kind of a black swan event, when there is some kind of a major shakeup. And I mean, who knows? Maybe 2024 will be very uneventful. I wouldn't bet money on that. I mean, you know what I'm doing with my money. I'm betting on gold and silver going higher, and I think that's what we're going to see. But of course, anything can happen. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What's your forecast for 2024? Are we going to see black swan events? Are we going to see major changes? Is it going to be a big nothing burger? I would love to know what you have to say, but leave me a comment down below to let me know. Thanks for watching, everybody. Stay safe and happy stacking, and I will catch you next time. Smart Silver Stacker out.